Hello, welcome to RED6544. This presentation is designed to provide you with a brief overview of the course, as well as some more detailed information about Theme 1 of the 5 themes that we'll address this summer. Keep in mind that I will post a presentation like this one for each of the 5 themes that we address this summer. In addition, there's a checklist available for you under the Modules tab for Theme 1. The checklist is not something that you need to turn in. I just put it together to help keep you organized. So if it's something that's helpful to you, please feel free to download and use it. If it's not, then you don't need to use it at all. But I think it is a nice way to just keep track of what it is that you need to complete throughout the semester. All right, so we're going to spend just a bit of time talking about the syllabus for this course. If you have not read through the syllabus at this point, I recommend stopping this presentation, reading through the syllabus, and then coming back to it. I'm going to talk just a little bit about what's in the syllabus, but in terms of the meat of that syllabus, it'll be up to you to read through it. You will get more details within these presentations for each theme, but I think it will be helpful for you to have a big picture overview of the course, and that's something that you'll need to do by reading the syllabus. So to keep in mind, there are 3 required texts that everyone in the class will purchase. Those are listed on your syllabus. In addition, there is one more required text, so a 4th required text, but you will choose from a list of 5 books which text it is that you would prefer to read. And this will become what you'll see in the syllabus referred to as your PLC text. So because this is a content area reading course, each of these books represents either a specific content area like social studies, science, or mathematics, or just more detailed strategies that are referencing content area reading broadly. So I really recommend that you take some time and you review the books and their descriptions, maybe on Amazon or something like that, and make a selection that you think will most help you in the classroom. Once you've made that selection, there is a link on the checklist, as well as it's listed as one of your assignments for the course, that ask you to select the book that you're choosing. So it will take you into a Google form. You'll just write your name and then select which book you're choosing. And keep in mind that you'll need to do that by Thursday, May 15th at 11:59 p.m. That will set up your PLC groups for the summer course, and you'll be conferencing with the people in your PLC groups throughout the semester. We're also going to talk in just a minute about the different texts that you'll be reading just for this theme. We'll talk about the course assignments just for this theme, although I will go into a little bit more detail simply because some of the assignments you'll notice in the syllabus are ongoing. So I'm going to give you greater description now and less description for the rest of the semester since it will be something that you've already done. And then I'm going to touch briefly on the PLC preparation because that's a piece that I think you'll want to get started on now, even though it's not officially part of this theme. All right, so the different textbooks that are required, the 3 that are listed here first, these are the 3 books that everyone is purchasing for this course. I did work really closely with the students who were in my course, in this course, in the spring semester, because neither them nor I felt that the textbook that was required for this course was particularly helpful, and it was very expensive. So we put together the list that you have now, and even by purchasing 4 books, you're spending less money than you would have if we kept the required text that none of us really liked. So we tried to choose books that we felt were applicable to what's expected of reading teachers in the classroom today, that you could take strategies away from and use immediately. So we spent actually quite a bit of time looking through the different books and making those selections. So the Cummins book, that is the book on close reading of informational text. You're going to read chapters 1 to 2 of that book. Harvey and Goodvie is strategies that work If you have the older edition, the first edition of that book, I strongly recommend that you purchase the second edition, which is actually the required text for this course. There are just enough updates in that book that I think you'd find the 2007 edition to be helpful. But you'll be reading chapters 1 through 3 in that book. Now, if you do have an older copy of that book, it will be up to you to make sure that you're reading the correct chapters. So chapters 1 through 3 in the second edition, which is what I am referencing, may not be the same as chapters 1 through 3 in the first edition. So you'll need to check on that. You can find the table of contents for the Strategies That Workbook available to you on Amazon if you need that. Keene and Zimmerman, chapters 1 through 2. I think you'll really like this book. It's a foundational text in reading education and just provides not only ideas, but why we use those particular ideas in classroom instruction. And then finally, there's an article that I've uploaded to the Modules tab on Canvas, and it's about struggling readers, written by Allington. It's a recent article by him. Also, I recommend that you start reading your PLC text as soon as possible. The actual presentation, the assignment, is not due until June 19th. However, you're going to be working with a group of people, and the more you know up front, the better you'll be able to address the needs of the group. I'll talk more about the PLC presentation and what's expected of that at the end of this presentation, but just something to keep in mind that if you think about breaking up the chapters so that you can read through, I think it would benefit you in the long run. Okay, so moving on to the assignments, your first learning log is due on May 22nd. Keep in mind that there's a learning log due for each theme, and this learning log is designed for you to make connections between theories and ideas presented in the readings and in classroom practice. So for those of you in the classroom, making those connections is really about, oh, this idea was presented and this is the practice that I've seen happen in the classroom. For those of you who aren't currently in the classroom, you're thinking more about what could be. So how would I take these theories and ideas, or how wouldn't I, and put those into practice in the classroom? Then you also want to show that you are able to make connections between course readings and standards. So that includes the International Reading Association standards as well as the Florida Reading Competencies. You can find copies of those in the Files tab on Canvas so that you can connect to those. You don't have to connect every single idea, but you can connect either your bullet points, or you can connect sort of broadly what it is that you're talking about with certain ideas. Mostly what I want to see is that you're thinking about how these standards and competencies relate to what it is that you're learning in this class. Now, what I'm asking you to do in terms of turning in your learning logs each theme is for you to create a professional blog space. If you already have one, please feel free to use that, but I do ask that if you blog personally, that you create a separate professional space. So for example, I have both a personal blog and a professional blog, and I use those for those purposes. I think that given the nature of faster literacies, it's very important for educators to be able to express themselves in a professional environment online. So blogs are really a tool for you to be able to share the knowledge that you have, whether that be from your readings or from your actual classroom practice. Now, obviously, something to keep in mind is that if you're talking about classroom practice, that you're not naming any students by name in your blog, because this is an open space. So you'll just, rather than uploading a document to Canvas each time you upload the learning log, you're just going to cut and paste the URL for your blog space. If you have questions about this, let me know. I can direct you to some sites that might help you think more deeply about the type of blog you'd like to create. The Teachers as Readers assignment, this is asking you to read text for pleasure. And this is one of the assignments that each semester I've taught this course, my students tell me up front that it's really challenging to find time to read text for pleasure. It's not something that they typically do. And I understand that. It's challenging for me to find time to read text for pleasure as well, although it is something I try very hard to do. At the end of each semester, however, students tell me how important the assignment was for them, because the idea is that you keep track of the reading processes that you use to navigate text. So what is it that you're doing to help you understand? If you're reading an informational text, are you scanning the page to find the captions to the pictures to better understand what it is you will be reading about? Do you scan to bulleted lists before reading the narrative text? What are those types of strategies that you use? The better you're able to track your own processes, the better you're able to understand the types of things that students may need support with in the classroom. So this can be a book, a piece of fiction, it can be a young adult novel, it can be a picture book, it can be a magazine, it can be websites. For example, one student last semester was buying a new computer, and her teachers as readers blog for that particular theme was all about the comparing and contrasting of different computer models that she did. So any type of reading that you're doing that isn't a requirement for school can count for this. So you will also have a section on your professional blog that includes this piece. And so you're really thinking about the questions and ideas that are presented in the text that you read as a way to display some thinking. So, if there are new ideas or strategies and you want to try those out with your own books, please go ahead and do that and just report back. The first time you do this particular piece of your blog, you're going to feel challenged by it. That's really natural. I'll give you feedback and we'll carry on from there. Okay, so also in this course, we have what's called the curricular quartet of assignments. That's 4 assignments that build off of each other in order to help you better understand how and why you'd use certain comprehension strategies. The first piece of this assignment is called the student. And in this assignment, you are going to identify a reader who has difficulty comprehending text. You'll either collect authentic assessment data that's already been administered. So if you're in the classroom and you're working with students, you have running record data or an individual reading inventory such as the DRA. You can just use information that's already been collected. You can also use FAIR or any other types of assessment that you're familiar with that help you determine comprehension abilities. If you need to administer an assessment, you may also do that. If you need some help finding an assessment, you can certainly contact me. So you're going to use that assessment data in your next 3 assignments that are part of the curricular quartet to help you determine appropriate text selection, choose a comprehension strategy, and then you'll write your paper and create a presentation on those pieces. I've uploaded 2 sample student papers on the student. That gets a little confusing. Those are available in the modules tab under theme 1. So you get a sense of what it is that you're writing about. These are not long papers. They're really 1 to 3 pages. It's basically a description of the student, a description of the student's reading abilities and of the needs that they have based on the assessment data that you've collected. So in other words, you're putting into writing the types of things that you think about when you're considering instruction for a student. All right, so with the PLC preparation, again, make sure to use the link that's provided on the Theme 1 checklist to choose the book that you will read. And again, keep in mind that that piece of this is due Thursday, May 15th at 11:59 p.m. so that we can get the groups established and you can move forward. Begin reading your selected PLC book as soon as possible. Again, the presentation is not due until June 19th, but you will be working with classmates on the presentation. You'll each have different roles and responsibilities for that presentation. So the more knowledge you have about the materials that are in the text up front, the better off that you'll be. I know that group presentations in general, but even more so in an online class, can be stressful. So there's an element in the rubric that acknowledges the contribution and participation of each group member. So you will actually rate each group member's contribution and participation at the end of the experience, and that will go into determining each individual's grade. So the presentation will get a score that everyone will get, but then there's a participation piece, and that piece determines the overall final score that you receive. If you look at the rubric, I think it makes more sense than the way I just described it. So again, it's not due till June 19th, but you'll want to get a head start on that. One thing I will recommend, once you determine the roles and responsibilities of each group member and you decide how it is that you want to create the presentation, if someone does not participate, I will leave it up to you whether you complete the part for them or not. But if you don't, I won't take off points for that fact so long as you let me know in the ratings that the reason the information is not there is because that group member did not participate. I don't want this to turn into something where one or two people end up doing the full body of work, so I just want you to keep that in mind. All right, keeping up with this theme and any theme moving forward, please email questions to me. You can do that either through Canvas or directly to my USF email address. I will tell you that I tend to respond more quickly if you send them directly to my USF email address. It's not because I ignore Canvas, it's because I don't always get the notifications in a timely manner. So just something to keep in mind. If you need an immediate response, I strongly recommend that you send it directly to my USF address, and that's available on your syllabus. I also recommend that you use the checklist I upload to help you keep track of your work so that you're sure that you've submitted everything that's due. Again, that's optional. You don't need to turn it in, but it is available to you, so I recommend using it just as a way to keep yourself organized. So if you have any questions after this and after reading your syllabus, please feel free to email them to me and I will get back to you.